Cool. So as a beta reader, how does it work in practice for you when I say, hey, I've got something for you to read? And what do you pay attention to as you're reading?
Okay, so when you usually I'm like, yeah, I will, sign me up. Like and I'm not quite sure why I didn't do your second book. I think I was well, actually, I was going through a period of my life that I was not reading that much, if I remember correctly, which is why I didn't do the second beta. But most of the time, I'm absolutely there for, being a beta reader. And how it works is usually Monica gives me the book and says, hey, literally read it in a time frame, right? You're usually like, hey, if you get my feedback in maybe a month or a couple of weeks. And then from my perspective, what I'm looking for is um, uh, I would say continuity of the plot line. So does the story make sense? That's probably the biggest thing I'm looking for. Does the story make sense? Do the way the characters interact make sense to me, right? So I'm definitely not getting into grammar. I'm not there. It is more of the whole, how is the story itself coming together? Is it interesting? Is it engaging? Right. And then that's usually, I think the feedback I'm giving you is more around the plot lines, honestly.
Yeah. And I say like your feedback on that is particularly important to me because you like this genre, where some of the other people who are reading it might not necessarily prefer this genre all the time, and so they're kind of reading it with a different lens. You know what the bar is.
I do know what the bar is.
Yeah. Yeah. So the kind of feedback, if you can remember, I know it's asking a lot to go back in time, but the kinds of things that you would have given feedback on, anything that stands out?
So I think when we were doing the Hope series, so when we were doing that I think I may have been one of the ones around the, oh, she is too impulsive, or she's like, I think that one was one that I know I was struggling with, but I knew what you were going for. So it's kind of like I had to, how much was too much, right? So
Yeah.
how much of it is yeah, I get it. She's 16 versus, okay, now she's just ventured into annoying land. And we need to
Yeah.
correct that a little bit, right? I think that was kind of on that first series, it was a little bit about Hope, and she matured. So I think by the third book, like all of that kind of went away because she really had come into her own, right? And yeah, and that was a thing. And I think for the Nanny Diary, right, the Norwood series, I think I was honestly, this was a topic because it was going into espionage and stuff like that, that I didn't have a lot of feedback on the overall plot because the plot was very interesting, right? So I think my feedback was more around the engagement of like the key characters, right? Like,
Mhm.
are they fitting well, right? Does it make sense? Um,
And
but
pacing, I remember you
yeah.
had a lot of feedback on the pacing too.
Right. Yeah. Like, is it moving too quick or a little slow at the beginning? Yeah, that was, yeah, you're right.